So in this video, I've got an absolute doozy for you guys, and it's about Kent. Kent is a place I've only been to once, and it was very nice. I can't lie. But Kent, you're gonna have a lot more lorries hanging around, and so let's go back to a statement Michael Gove made, because there's gonna be there might be a good few Yu-Gi-Oh references in this video because of Michael Gove. Let's go.
The day after we vote to leave, we hold all the cards.
And the cards we're holding, we don't hold all of them, and they're not very good. This guy here thinking we've got the Dark Magician and some Magic Cylinders and Mirror Force, but I'm afraid we do not hold those cards. And if we actually look at what's going on here, the UK, this is Michael Gove as well, warning about there might be a 7,000 lorry truck line, not quite, over 9,000. Couldn't pull out a Vegeta reference. But 7,000 lorries. If you look at the size of these things, could you imagine 7,000 of these things in a row, stuck because of the UK's own idiocy? And if we look here, we're gonna make Brexit means Brexit, and we're gonna make a Titanic success of it. Bad reference there. Maybe an appropriate one. And all of these statements, if you want to pause the video, you can read through some of these. And here's the infamous quote there: the day after we vote to leave, we hold all the cards and we can choose the path we want. Didn't realise we wanted the path of economic destruction. So fair play, Gove. He wasn't wrong there. So according to this and Michael Gove, lorry drivers will need a permit to enter Kent after the transition period. So if you look here, truck drivers will need a permit to enter Kent after the Brexit transition period ends, the governor said. The announcement comes after a letter from Cabinet Minister Michael Gove, Brexiteer Michael Gove, ardent Brexiteer Michael Gove. We hold all the cards, Michael Gove. No, all the cards are rubbish, Michael Gove, but we still hold some. Warned that queues 7,000 trucks long could clog up roads around the Port of Dover and Channel Tunnel. Speaking in the comments, Mr. Gove said the Kent Access permit system would be enforced by police and ANPR cameras. So if you don't have the right permits and things like that, your lorry's going to get stopped. Let's, taking back control, your lorry got the right paperwork, mate. Nah, sorry. You're going to get fined. It is intended to ensure that drivers have all the paperwork they need. So it's going to be fumbly for these drivers who, lorry driving does not look like an easy job. In any case, with added stuff to do, that's not going to be great. Drivers of lorries carrying more than 7.5 tons will need to apply for permits online and show that they have all the paperwork they need to ferry goods to Europe. Mr. Gove, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, said, responsible for no deal planning, wrote to logistics groups with the government's reasonable worst case scenario. So this is their reasonable worst case scenario. What is the unreasonable worst case scenario if things go really bad? That's what I want to know. I'm thinking over 9,000 lorries. All right. In that scenario, he said just half of big businesses and 20% of small businesses would be ready for the strict application of new EU requirements at the border. And so just 20% of small businesses, and this, with the tariff increases and all these extra checks, all the costs of, all the increased time that's going to take to import these goods means that they're going to be more expensive. And so these small businesses are going to get hit twice. One for perhaps not having the right paperwork in, and again, for all the extra time and cost it's going to take to import their stuff that they may need with the businesses. So they therefore be turned back by French border authorities, clogging the Dover-Calais crossing. So this is exports to France. So if you don't have the right paperwork, you get sent back. And if you have perishable goods, then that's it. You're done. He said it could lead up to delays of up to 2 days for drivers waiting to cross the channel, although he said those queues will likely subside after businesses learnt from seeing their cargo denied access to the continent. So it's going to be trial by error. If your stuff gets sent back, you're going to have to figure out things quick. But 2 days, up to 2 days waiting to cross the channel. So that means these drivers are going to have to be paid a lot more for their services, and that's going to be an increased cost to whoever's importing this stuff to France. And what that means is they're less likely to import the stuff from the UK because it's going to be extra cost and extra hassle if they can't get them. Could you imagine if you're, say, ordering, beef in France, right? And then you find out your beef import's not coming in because the people in the UK didn't have the right export papers. It's going to lower the chances of them importing our stuff. So that's great. Well played, Michael Gove there. That's your Dark Magician. So it raises the prospect of a winter spike in COVID-19 leading to an absence of ports and border staff. Oh, okay, here we go. There's more stuff here. I've missed some stuff out. The transition period is due to expire at the end of the year, but only a quarter of businesses are fully prepared for the Brexit arrangements, Mr. Gove said. A quarter. are prepared. 75% are not prepared. Imports will be disrupted in January, according to the letter sent to the freight industry by Mr. Gove. He also raises the prospect of a winter spike in COVID-19 related absences of port and border staff. So he needs to really ramp up the hiring process because we need a lot of people here, but that's not going to happen. So some stuff from Rachel Reeves. It's incredible. It is incredible that ministers are only now admitting to their plans to arrest British truckers for entering Kent without new travel passports. It's pretty funny, to be fair. Could you imagine, yeah, if you're just going to Kent, like just to Kent, like not going to France, and if you don't have the right permit, you get arrested. Not arrested, but you get fined. That's phenomenal. That's really taking back control. With just 3 months to go, how are businesses meant to prepare amid this conservative carnival of incompetence? The circus. You're not a clown, you're the entire circus. That's Michael Gove. The picture of chaos at the border might be familiar from a similar set of projections made for no-deal Brexit a year ago as part of what was known as Operation Yellowhammer. The government says it is not a prediction but an illustration of what could be reasonably expected. So 7,000 lorries is what they expect. So if we have lots of problems, I'm saying there'll be maybe 10,000 lorries. There could be problems here. Moreover, Mr. Gove told Parliament on Wednesday that government was absolutely determined to do everything we can to secure a deal. And so what we can see from this is this take back control, all this nonsense, yeah, it's led to way more problems that it was ever going to solve, because the EU were not going to bow down to our demands. That's what's happened here. And both groups are going to be hit. The French are going to be hit by this. They're going to need a lot more border staff. That's going to cost. Whether that's the EU are going to stunt up the cost for it, it's going to be a collective, a collective sort of grouping of the money, or if it's going to be having to be France paying for it. We'll see. France could get some of the money from the import tariffs, and they could put that to the border force. So we'll see what happens with France, but with us, it's not looking too good. According to the Cabinet Office document, without a free trade deal, and in its reasonable worst case scenario, there may be a maximum of 7,000 port-bound trucks in Kent and associated maximum delays of up to 2 days. But then, if the staff aren't there, what happens then, Gove? That's the key question. Both imports and exports will be disrupted to a similar extent, so both sides of the road are screwed. The EU is expected to impose full goods controls on the UK, stopping all freight without the correct documentation at the end of the transition period on the 1st of January, and that means we will be treated as a third party state, essentially, and that means everything coming in gets checked. The disruption is assumed to build in the last 2 weeks of January and could last 3 months or longer should France rigorously apply Schengen passport checks on hauliers at Dover and Channel Tunnel. I'm not 100% sure what that means, or the Schengen thing means, but the purpose of this start communication is try and get traders to act now. So we're giving them only a few months to actually figure things out. They should have been told this at the start of the year, that these are the possible outcomes of a no-deal Brexit, but they weren't told, and they weren't taking it seriously as well, some of these people, and only a quarter of businesses are ready. So the ones that are ready will benefit massively, but the ones that aren't are in trouble, and it's not their fault, it's the government's fault for only giving them 3 months. And they still don't have the systems in place, so they don't even know what paperwork they need, how to get the paper specifically, and who's in charge of that. So that's the government's failing there. So I don't blame businesses that much at all. In response, the freight industry says putting in place measures needed to avoid border delays will be a huge challenge for the government industry. Logistics UK, representing road, rail, sea and air haulage firms, say is urging businesses to act quickly to install and understand the new processes that they will need to use. But the firms need early access to both UK and EU systems so that can conduct testing and training before the 1st of January. So if they don't have access now, they're never going to be ready by January, because these systems, they're very they crash very easily, and if there are problems, they need to get fizzled out really quickly now, because if they're not, then we're going to have massive problems in January when it's actually there, when the rubber hits the road. Fraught relationship. A recent meeting between industry and the government was described as a washout, with insiders describing the relationship as fraught, and Hawley is fearful that they will be cast as the fall guys for delays and disruption, likely in January. So what these companies have to do is get ahead of the government and say, look, these are the problems, there will be disruption because the government didn't get their act together. That's what the trick for spin is, to get there first, because if you're proactive and you get in front of the government, that means they have to react and try and defend themselves, right? But if you come in second, that's where you get problems. So like when the scientists are getting blamed for our poor lack of COVID, it's very hard for them to defend themselves. But if they come out first and say, look, this is what we told the government and this is what the government said, then it's much easier for them to defend their position and not get spun. But the discussions on these settlements await of the impasse in negotiations on state aid and fisheries. So the question is the government going to help pay is the government going to have enough time to sort the borders out, and what happens with the tariffs as well? Because if they're not sorted out, that means it's the consumer that pays for them. If there's a 40% import tariff on beef, any beef that we import into this country, 40% gets added on, and that gets pushed onto the consumer because the companies aren't going to take the hit. Are you mad? Industry sources have raised the possibility that the UK would have to sign up to EU rules limiting driver hours in order to get access to EU roads, so that's another problem. And there is a specific new reference to France imposing strict passport restrictions at juxtaposed controls currently designed to offer seamless travel across the channel. There are also the risk of continued disruption caused by Schengen controls being applied rigorously at the juxtaposed controls at the Port of Dover and Eurotunnel. The document says, I'm not 100% sure what the Schengen stuff means. If anyone could tell me in the comments, that would be great. So what we have here is a de facto border in Kent. So the UK have so much control now. We've decided to put an internal border in our own country, two internal borders, one between the Northern Ireland and the mainland UK, and now in Kent, in and around Kent. Phenomenal stuff. So this is Lisa O'Carroll. She's the Brexit correspondent for The Guardian. So she's writing, new Gove confirms a de facto internal border in Kent, rephrasing previous tweet. This is something transport industry has been very worried about. Truckers will have to have a Kent access permit to get into the county, says Gove. They will use police and ANPR to enforce this. And so if you're just going to Kent in a lorry to, I don't know, you're doing like a shipping route, and from say, I don't know, London or whatever, then if you don't have the right paperwork, you're going to get stopped. So if anyone's listening to this that works doing lorry stuff and going to Kent, good luck, fam. Good luck. And so go to our last article. New Brexit checks at Northern Ireland ports will not be ready on time. So the permanent secretary in Stormont, which is a really cool sounding name, Department of Agriculture, said he and his colleagues have been placed in an impossible position. So basically, the border in Kent isn't going to be ready on time. All the checks most likely will not be ready on time, so we might get sued by WTO, and the border in Northern Ireland won't be ready on time. And that's the more contentious border, because if that system isn't ready, then that means the EU will have to default to doing checks on the Irish border of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and there you have Good Friday problems, the Good Friday Agreement. So in this article, it just says new checking facilities for goods arriving in Northern Ireland from Great Britain will not be ready for the end of the Brexit transition period, as senior officials confirmed. Contingency arrangements are being prepared, including repurposing of old buildings and an interim paper-based checking system when the requirement for additional regulatory checks at ports comes into effect on January 1st. Dennis McCowan, I'm sorry, I butchered your name. The permanent secretary in the Department of Agriculture and Rural Affairs said he and his colleagues have been left in an impossible situation as they worked on a project that was openly opposed by their minister, Edwin Poots. He said, his Assembly's scrutiny committee, my message to you today is despite the monumental efforts by the team, not everything will be in place by the 1st of January. So here we've got an article which basically says that they won't be ready either. So what we can tell from this is the fact that we've had 4 years to figure things out and we still don't know what we're doing. And it's crunch time. The rubber is going to hit the road, and there's going to be massive internal border problems at 2 different places. One on the Northern Ireland side. So I'm not sure which areas of England that would impact the most, but we know that Kent is definitely going to be impacted. So Kent, you voted for Brexit, you voted for multiple Conservative, you voted for Conservative MPs. You guys said you knew Brexit, said you knew what you voted for. So own this. This is on you guys. I don't want to hear none of it. Talking about this the Ramona's fault, or I don't know, Gove isn't a proper Brexiteer, or WTO nonsense. Yeah, you're gonna own this. You messed up. Alright, anyone wants to apologise in the comments because you messed up, fine, but it's a bit late now. But I'll accept your apology on behalf of the people who were right, and we'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.